Welcome to the Deep Dive.
Hey there.
Today we're looking at a snapshot of Bitcoin, specifically what things looked like back on May 8th, 2025.
Right. So we've got some price info, some government news, and what the big players, the whales, were up to.
Yeah, exactly. And the goal is just to pull out the really important bits for you, nice and quick.
Get you the key insights from that moment in time.
Okay, so let's jump in. The price. That was the big headline, right? Bitcoin nearly kissing $100,000.
Yeah, hovering around, what was it, $98,899?
Somewhere right around there. And it wasn't flat either. It moved quite a bit in just 24 hours.
Uh-huh. From about like 96,000 up to almost 99.8.
So $95,959 to $99,835 roughly. Plus it was up nearly, what, 2.8% on the day?
Yeah, a solid gain.
So what was pushing it up like that?
Well, the timing is interesting. It seems tied to the Federal Reserve's decision. They kept interest rates steady.
Ah, okay. And that usually gives investors a bit more confidence, doesn't it?
Generally, yeah. Less uncertainty. And it looks like that positive feeling, spread into crypto.
Makes sense. So for you listening, seeing Bitcoin react like this to macro news like Fed decisions, it kind of shows its growing connection to the wider financial world.
Definitely. And building on that theme of integration, we saw something pretty novel out of Arizona.
Oh yeah, tell us about that.
So Arizona actually set up a state-managed Bitcoin reserve fund. Legislation passed.
A state government. Wow, how does that work?
Well, the idea is the fund holds digital assets, maybe from things like airdrops or staking rewards, interest earned, and it's managed by a proper custodian.
So they're not just buying and holding, they're planning for it to grow through crypto-specific ways, like staking.
Exactly. It's a pretty forward-thinking approach for a state government. Definitely raises questions about, what other states might do.
Yeah, you wonder if it's a one-off or the start of a trend, but okay, contrasting that a bit. Franklin's Bitcoin ETF.
Right. On the same day, May 8th, they reported zero net inflows.
Zio. So while the price is popping and Arizona's making moves, one major ETF saw nothing coming in.
Exactly. It's a bit of a mixed signal, maybe.
What do you make of that? Does it suggest maybe institutions were feeling a bit hesitant despite the price?
It could. I mean, it might just be a temporary pause, or maybe some short-term indecision among those bigger institutional investors. They might be waiting to see if the rally holds, perhaps.
Okay, so not necessarily a bad sign, but something to watch.
Yeah.
It shows institutional sentiment isn't always perfectly aligned with the daily price swings.
Precisely. It adds a layer of nuance.
All right, and then there was the whale activity.
Ah, yes. A pretty significant buy.
How significant?
One whale bought 100 Bitcoin.
100 BTC. And with the price near $100, that's
Yeah.
a lot of money.
Yeah, around $9.78 million worth, roughly. And they bought after the price had already started moving up.
Okay, so buying into strength. What does a move like that typically signal to the market?
Well, people watch these whale moves closely. A big buy like that, especially after a price bump, can really boost confidence. It suggests a major player believes there's more upside.
So it can kind of reinforce the positive trend.
It often does, yeah. It can encourage others to jump in, thinking the big money knows something.
Interesting. So if we kind of zoom out and put these pieces together, Bitcoin nearing $100, a U.S. state creating a dedicated Bitcoin fund.
And at the same time, a pause in ETF flows, but a big whale buy.
It really paints a picture of growing interest, especially from more established players and even governments, but maybe not universal agreement on the very next step.
I think that's fair. And it highlights how important that evolving regulatory picture is. What Arizona did is interesting, but how regulations develop more broadly is absolutely key.
Yeah, watching how governments handle Bitcoin is going to be crucial going forward.
No doubt about it.
Okay, so quick wrap up then. We had the price surging towards $100 K, likely boosted by the Fed holding rates.
We had Arizona's innovative state Bitcoin reserve getting started.
A bit of institutional pause shown by the zero ETF inflows for Franklin.
But counterbalanced by that significant $9.8 million whale purchase showing strong conviction.
Right, a really dynamic snapshot.
Definitely. A market right at a major psychological level being pushed and told by macroeconomics, new government actions, and big investor moves.
So thinking about all this, here's something for you to chew on. With Bitcoin knocking on the door of $100,000, and you see these different forces, Fed policies, state adoption, whale buys, what fundamental shifts do you think this moment points to? How might this change the way digital assets fit into, well, everything? What new questions does this raise for you about where finance is headed?
Lots to think about.
Indeed. That's our deep dive for today. Thanks for joining us.